The fork tines pressed into my palm hard enough to leave marks, but I couldn't feel them. What I felt instead was something strange, a metallic taste flooding my mouth, the kind you get right before you pass out or right after you've been punched. Across the Thanksgiving table, my grandmother Eleanor's voice cut through the warm haze of candlelight and turkey. "Rachel, answer me. Why is there an elderly couple I don't recognize living in the $1 million lakeside house I bought for you?" The clatter of my father's knife hitting his plate sounded distant, like it was happening in another room. I watched my sister Nicole's wine glass tremble in her grip, the red liquid catching the chandelier light. My mother's hand froze halfway to the gravy boat, but none of that registered fully because my brain was doing math it couldn't complete. $1 million house. Bought for me. Elderly couple living there. My bank account had $12.50 in it. I'd checked that morning. My name is Rachel. I'm 28, and I spent the last 3 years believing I was a failure. This is the story of how I discovered my family had been engineering my destruction, and how I made them pay for every single day of it. "Grandma, what did you just say?" My voice came out thin, reedy. The words sounded impossible to someone who'd been crashing on friends' couches for the past month after getting evicted from her apartment. "You heard me." Eleanor's eyes, sharp as they'd been before she left for Europe 3 years ago, swept past me to my sister, then our parents. "The lakeside vacation home, the one I purchased in your name for your future. I went there yesterday as a surprise. You weren't there. Instead, I found Brandon's parents." She gestured toward my sister's husband, who'd suddenly become very interested in his mashed potatoes. "Living quite comfortably. They told me they're staying in a home owned by their son's wife, Nicole." I turned to my sister. Nicole's face had gone the color of raw chicken. There must be some mistake." Nicole's laugh was too high, too fast. "You just got back, Grandma. Jet lag can really mess with your memory. There are lots of similar houses around that lake." "Nicole's right, Mom." My mother Linda jumped in, dabbing at her forehead with her napkin. "You must be exhausted. Come on, the turkey's getting cold. We can sort this out later." "Be quiet." Eleanor's voice hit the table like a judge's gavel. Despite being 73, she projected enough force to make everyone flinch. My mind is not failing me. The address, the exterior, the dock with the blue trim. It was exactly the house I signed the contract for. She reached into her handbag and slid a photograph across the white tablecloth. And this is what Brandon's parents showed me when I asked why they were there. The image stopped my heart. A beautiful lakeside mansion, golden hour light warming its cedar siding, and standing in front of it, arms around each other, beaming at the camera, Nicole, Brandon, and his parents. 3 years ago, when I'd been drowning in student loans and working 3 jobs, Nicole had posted this same house on Instagram with the caption #MyNewVacationHome. I'd scrolled past it during a 15-minute break at my second shift, feeling that familiar twist of inadequacy. Why was everything so easy for her? "What is going on?" I stood up so fast my chair rocked. "Mom, Dad, if Grandma bought a house for me, why am I basically homeless? Why have I been sleeping on Emma's couch for a month?" My father, Michael, wouldn't meet my eyes. "It's complicated, sweetheart. Today's Thanksgiving. Talking about money at a family dinner isn't exactly—" "No." Eleanor cut him off. "We're clearing this up now. Rachel, you genuinely don't know anything about the $1 million vacation home I sent you 3 years ago." $1 million. The number didn't even seem real. I'd been eating ramen and canned soup for months. Last week, I'd calculated that if I picked up an extra shift, I could afford to buy real vegetables. "I don't know anything," I said. "I've never seen a vacation home. I don't own anything except a 10-year-old Honda with a check engine light that's been on for 6 months. Eleanor's expression softened for just a moment, something like grief flickering across her face, before hardening again as she turned to my parents. "Michael, Linda, 3 years ago you told me Rachel was mentally unstable and incapable of managing a large asset. You said you'd act as her guardians and manage the property on her behalf until she became independent." The metallic taste in my mouth turned to bile. "I'm sorry. When was I ever mentally unstable? I graduated summa cum laude. I've never caused anyone trouble. I've been working myself to exhaustion trying to build a life while everything keeps falling apart around me." Rachel, calm down. My mother's voice was low, her eyes carrying a warning I'd seen before. You're getting worked up. This is exactly what I mean by unstable. Don't you dare. The words came out sharper than I'd ever spoken to her. My chair toppled backward as I stood fully. When I couldn't make rent, you told me I wasn't trying hard enough. You said I needed to learn independence. And this whole time, you'd given my house, a house in my name, to Nicole? We did it for your own good, my father shouted, slamming his palm on the table hard enough to rattle the silverware. You don't have the capability to manage assets, so we entrusted it to someone responsible. Oh, shut up already. Nicole's voice cut through, shrill and defensive. A boring nobody like you doesn't deserve a house like that. We put it to good use. You should be thanking us. I stared at my sister, the one I'd defended in middle school when other girls were cruel to her, the one I'd tutored through college algebra, the one whose wedding I'd helped plan despite not being able to afford a new dress for it, and felt something fundamental break. That's enough. Eleanor rose slowly, using her cane for support, and walked to stand beside me. Her hand, warm and steady, settled on my shoulder. Rachel is right. All of you are rotten, completely rotten to the core. Mom, that's going too far, my father protested. Everything we did was for the family's benefit. There is no family here. Eleanor's voice was ice. There are only hyenas who fed on their own granddaughter's property. She pulled out her phone and pressed a single button. Come in, please. The front door opened, and a man in a charcoal suit entered carrying a leather briefcase. I recognized him from the photos in Eleanor's study. Mr. Pierce, her personal attorney. Mrs. Morrison, I have everything as instructed. What is this? My father staggered back a step as Mr. Pierce set a thick stack of documents on the table. Michael, Linda, and Nicole, Eleanor announced. I will now go through every fraudulent act you committed, page by page. Don't think for a moment you can escape. I wiped my eyes with my napkin and lifted my head. The warmth of Eleanor's hand gave me the strength I needed. And then, because I was tired of being the victim they'd designed me to be, I let the mask fall. That's enough acting, Grandma. The words hung in the air. My family's heads swiveled toward me in unison. Yes, indeed, Rachel. Eleanor stepped firmly to my side, her cane tapping once against the hardwood. I've been thoroughly entertained. What? My mother's face went slack. Rachel, why are you laughing? Because you've been played. I let the satisfaction warm my voice. A week ago, Grandma contacted me. Not through you, through Aunt Christine. She told me it seemed like the family had been intercepting her letters and deliberately isolating me from her. I looked at each of them in turn. From that moment, we knew everything. Tonight was never a family dinner. It was a trap. And you just confessed to your crimes in front of a witness and an attorney. We were set up. My father went white. Sit down. Eleanor's single command pinned him to his chair. This is only just beginning. Mr. Pierce, let's start with the forged transfer agreement. The attorney slid a document to the center of the table. This property, Lakeside Manor, was originally purchased by Mrs. Morrison in Rachel Morrison's name. However, the current registered owner is Nicole Thompson. The transfer occurred on October 15th, 3 years ago. The listed sale price was $1. $1. That was the value they'd placed on my future. I always knew something was wrong, I said quietly. I graduated at the top of my class with professor recommendations. I made it to final interviews at 4 major firms. Every single one rejected me without explanation. I fixed my gaze on my father. Around that time, anonymous emails were sent to their HR departments claiming I suffered from severe mental illness and had been a troublemaker at university. Mr. Pierce's investigators subpoenaed the records from each company's HR department, and the IP addresses traced directly back to this house, sent during hours when you were in your study. I don't know what you're talking about. The evidence doesn't lie, Dad. You deliberately destroyed my career, because if I became independent, you couldn't keep committing fraud in my name. I turned to my mother, and I finally understand why I never saved any money, no matter how hard I worked, why I kept failing credit screenings. Mr. Pierce produced another set of papers. This is the account Miss Morrison used to repay her student loans. She deposited money every month from her 3 part-time jobs. However, the funds were automatically redirected, not to the loan servicer, but to a hidden account in Mrs. Linda Morrison's name. Miss Morrison is currently blacklisted as a delinquent borrower, which destroyed her credit rating. My mother's mouth opened and closed soundlessly. You kept telling me I wasn't trying hard enough, I said, that I should be more like Nicole, and the whole time you were stealing my loan payments. You're the reason I couldn't rent an apartment. You're the reason I've been terrified of ending up on the streets. My poverty hadn't been bad luck. It hadn't been laziness or incompetence. It had been a cage my own parents built around me, bar by bar. And you, Nicole? I turned to my sister, who was gripping the table edge like it might save her. You've been collecting $5,000 a month in rent from Brandon's parents for a house that belongs to me. So what? Nicole's chin jutted forward defiantly. His parents wanted a quiet place to live. I let them stay. What's wrong with that? Mr. Pierce? The attorney pulled up another document. These are deposit records for an account under Nicole Thompson's name. Monthly transfers of $5,000 from the account of Mr. and Mrs. Thompson Sr. Purpose listed. Rent. Eleanor spoke first. So you stole Rachel's house, then charged your in-laws to live in it while she couldn't afford groceries. That was a maintenance fee. It's a huge property, and Brandon's parents are wealthy. $5,000 is nothing to them. That's not the point, I said. You made $60,000 a year off my property while I worked 3 jobs and still couldn't buy fresh vegetables. My father leaned forward. Mom, listen. Maybe our methods were heavy-handed, but look at the results. The house is well maintained. Nicole's in-laws are happy. Isn't that better for the family than letting Rachel live there alone? We can give her a settlement, a consolation payment, and move forward. A consolation payment? Eleanor's voice dropped to something terrifying. When my granddaughter was on the verge of homelessness, you were profiting off her property, and now you want to settle this with cash? But Rachel is young. Hardship builds character, doesn't it? Shut up! Eleanor's roar echoed through the dining room. I wrote to Rachel every month for 3 years. Every letter asked how she was doing, if she needed anything. I never received a single response. You told me she was too mentally unstable to write back. I shook my head. Not one letter ever reached me. Because every letter was addressed to this house, Eleanor said coldly. You claimed you were holding them for her. You crushed my letters and severed every connection between us. Mr. Pierce cleared his throat. Regarding the transfer document, Mrs. Thompson claims validates her ownership. We conducted a digital forensic analysis. He pressed a button, and a magnified image appeared on his tablet. Beneath the paper fibers, a pattern of microscopic yellow dots emerged. This is a machine identification code. Color laser printers embed these dots to record the printer's serial number and print date. This document was printed 6 months ago. Nicole's mouth fell open. Strange, I said. Why would a contract supposedly signed 3 years ago be printed on paper that didn't exist until 6 months ago? I paused. I know exactly why. 6 months ago, Grandma contacted you and said she might be returning home soon. You panicked. Until then, you'd been squatting in my house based on nothing but verbal promises. But once Grandma came back and checked the records, you'd be exposed. So you forged documents, backdated to 3 years ago, to create legal cover. My father's face was gray. If you'd asked me to sign it, your scheme would have been revealed, so Nicole copied my handwriting and forged my signature. According to handwriting analysis, Mr. Pierce continued, the signature matches Nicole Thompson's handwriting with 99% probability. This constitutes forgery of a private document. Additionally, Mrs. Thompson falsely claimed guardianship over Miss Morrison and withdrew $1 million under the pretense of property maintenance. That's fraud and embezzlement. Nicole began shaking. Prison! This can't be happening! Dad, say something. You're the one who said backdating it would be fine. Shut up! My father's face contorted. You idiot! The police have been notified, Mr. Pierce said calmly. Criminal charges will be filed immediately. No! Nicole grabbed her head. Dad told me to do it. He said Rachel's too stupid to notice. Mom said we might as well use her money since she'll never pay off her loans anyway. I only did what they told me. The room erupted. My father screaming at Nicole for betraying him. My mother lunging at Nicole to silence her. Nicole sobbing that she was just following orders. The family that had preached about love and loyalty was now tearing itself apart to avoid consequences. "That's enough," Eleanor's voice cut through the chaos. "I've seen enough ugliness. Mr. Pierce, the revised will." The attorney produced a final document. This will revokes all inheritance rights from Michael Morrison, Linda Morrison, and Nicole Thompson, including Nicole's spouse. Miss Rachel Morrison is designated as sole heir to the entire estate. The entire. My father choked on the words. "Mom, please, we're sorry. We've reflected. Please reconsider." My mother fell to her knees. "I'm sorry, Mom. I had a moment of weakness. Please." Eleanor looked down at them with eyes like winter. "If you want to apologize, do it to Rachel. She's the victim." 3 pairs of eyes turned to me, pleading, desperate, and underneath it that familiar assumption. We're family, so she'll forgive us. I lifted my wine glass and took a slow sip. Then I smiled. "No, I don't have any mercy left for you. What I have is an invoice." I accepted the final document from Mr. Pierce. "This is a demand for restitution of unjust enrichment over the past 3 years, plus damages for emotional distress. The total is $2 million. Payment due by tomorrow or criminal prosecution proceeds immediately." $2 million? My father's voice cracked. "We don't have that kind of money." "Then sell what you have. Your house, your cars, your jewelry, and that lakeside property. You'll vacate it within 72 hours. "No." Nicole collapsed to the floor. "If we kick Brandon's parents out, he'll divorce me." "That sounds like a personal problem, Nicole. When I lost my job and my credit was destroyed, did any of you worry about me? No. You laughed about it. Now it's your turn." Heavy knocking echoed through the house. 2 officers entered the dining room. "Nicole Thompson, please come with us." "No, help me. I didn't do anything wrong," Nicole screamed as they guided her toward the door. My parents were next, handcuffed in their own home, the home they'd paid for with money stolen from me. "Rachel, I'm sorry." My mother's makeup ran in black streaks down her cheeks. "I was wrong. Please, please drop the charges." I met her eyes. "Goodbye, Mom. You'll have plenty of time to think about what you did." As the police sirens faded into the November night, only Eleanor, Mr. Pierce, and I remained. The Thanksgiving candles had burned down to stubs. Cold turkeys sat untouched on silver platters. I let out a long breath. Not exhaustion, but release. Like a curse. Finally lifting. "It's over, Grandma." Eleanor pulled me into a hug. "No, sweetheart, this is where it begins. Your real life." 1 year later, I'm standing on the wooden deck of Lakeside Manor, watching the morning mist rise off the water. The house is mine now, truly mine. Nicole's in-laws were evicted within 72 hours. They claimed ignorance, but their suspiciously low rent and unsigned lease made them accessories. The investigation took months. Brandon's parents ultimately avoided criminal charges by cooperating fully with prosecutors, but the reputational damage followed them. They've since moved out of state. Nicole received 3 years in federal prison. Brandon divorced her before the sentencing. She lost everything: her freedom, her marriage, her social standing, every dollar she'd squeezed out of my property. My parents declared bankruptcy. My father's business collapsed under the weight of legal fees and reputation damage. Last I heard, they're living in a studio apartment across town. I don't have their address. I don't want it. As for me, I started something I never expected, after sharing my story online, anonymously at first. The response overwhelmed me. Hundreds of messages from people who recognize themselves in what happened to me. Family financial abuse, gaslighting, systems designed to keep victims trapped. So I built a consulting business, financial planning for survivors of family exploitation. I help people untangle the damage done by the people who were supposed to protect them. My calendar is booked 6 months out. My income is more than I ever dreamed during those years of 3 jobs and empty cupboards. I'm not angry anymore. I'm not sad. I'm just free. On weekends, Eleanor comes to stay. Aunt Christine visits occasionally, too. She's become the only other family I trust, the one person who helped Eleanor reach me when it mattered most. We sit by the fireplace she never got to see me enjoy, drinking tea, filling in 3 years of stolen conversations. Last Sunday, watching the sunset paint the lake gold and pink, she said something I'll never forget. "You didn't just reclaim what was taken from you, Rachel. Through integrity and courage, you built something even better." I looked at the house around me, the home I'd earned twice over, once through birthright and once through justice, the business that grew from my worst experience, the grandmother I'd nearly lost forever to my parents' cruelty. "I'm happy, Grandma," I said, and for the first time in years, I meant it completely. "This is my home, this is my life, and no one will ever take it from me again."